here in Singapore. And I welcome you for this session. I will be kind of the facilitator, but or I'll introduce the main speaker very shortly. Uh, you know, the reason we wanted to do this was, all of us know the attention that GenAI is taking, right? So we wanted to kind of we so Charles Verdon, who is our guest speaker, we gave him a very challenging task. We said, how can we make a general session on GenAI, right? Because GenAI would mean many things for many people, right? So this is exactly what the purpose of this session is. GenAI for everyone. So everyone should get, some understanding of what it is about and how it is relevant in their context. So as a facilitator, I'll stay in the background, but what we will also do is, as Charles is speaking, we would, feel free to send in your questions through chat. So we have about an hour with us. Probably the session will be for about 45 minutes, and there'll be Q&A after that. But we can also, what we can do is, as the questions are coming in, we can pause at some logical points and see, and I'll keep track of that and get into a bit of Q&A so that it's just not one-way flow always. So before I hand it over to Charles, Charles, thank you very much for taking a Sunday morning and spending with us. Much appreciated. Your friend Devanando, he's unfortunately he's on a flight, so he can't be here. So he gave me the mantle of being the host. But for all of you, Charles Verdon is originally from Canada. He did his MBA from McGill, and he joined Microsoft, after his MBA, and he has been with Microsoft since 2013. He moved to Singapore in 2019, and so 7 years here, Charles. So currently he is the strategic partnership lead for data and AI. So data and AI is what Charles lives and breathes. And he works with customers to understand their business requirements and then kind of figure out how technology solutions from Microsoft would help. And as they are going through their AI transformations, right? So Charles, feel free to give more color to your background and over to you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you everyone for joining and taking some time from your Sunday as well. Good morning. Happy to be here. And yeah, I think 7 years in Singapore, that means that I arrived just before the COVID lockdown. I had like 3 months to settle in, open bank account, find a place to live. And then we were in that interesting phase of life. So as described, my role as part of the strategic partnership team is to work with customers that want to work with Microsoft in a very close way. That can mean co-innovation and co-engineering, where the customer bring their own team and Microsoft brings a group of engineers and we work on a project together. That can be creating a new business, creating a new solution. There's many different possible direction that this can take. But in this new world of AI, often that can mean transforming the organization with these new AI technologies. We are doing a little bit something different today than what I'm used to. I used to speak more to corporate audience, talk about business use cases. Today is a different spin to it. We're going to talk about how I use AI and some example of use cases in my day-to-day life. It's not going to be an exhaustive list. Everybody can use AI for slightly different things. But what I hope to do today is inspire true personal examples of how you can integrate AI in some of what you do day in and day out. So as part of my responsibility, I also speak at the executive briefing center that we have at our office in Singapore. So that means the executive across Asia visit like our office in Singapore, and then we do customer presentation on how they can transform with AI. So that's also an interesting aspect to my role. Recently, we saw through Singapore's budget 2026 that there was key investments that the local government is doing on building the country's AI strengths. Some of you might already know some of these, but just to recap, there's going to be more and more emphasis and support from the government for every one of us to ramp up on our AI skills. So you can see maybe this presentation as a way of like understanding how it can help you in your day-to-day life, and then maybe in the future you can see how it can help in your professional life. So through setting up the National AI Council AI mission to be launched, enhancement of enterprise innovation scheme, a new AI park at One North, expansion of tech skill accelerators, so all the skills for future type of program. There's going to be a lot more AI focus on the offering there. And then finally, free subscription to premium AI tools for people registered in the courses. So that's a key area that will be developed and supported through Budget 2026. So what I hope to do in this presentation is inspire you in these 4 themes here. So boosting creativity and productivity, giving you ideas of use cases that what I do, and see if it translates into what you want to do with AI. Preparing for the future. Like we all know that the way things worked when we grew up is different from today. And similarly, AI will be one of the elements that shapes the future. So by better understanding it today, you can quite a few people ask questions about AI safety and how do we integrate it, but also remain in control of what the AI does. So we do have a section at the end where we can go deeper into this topic. And finally, for me, one of the biggest thing that AI brings is making learning more fun. So especially if you think of the breadth of knowledge that exists out there, previously, the only alternative to learn something new was to go on Google and then ask a question. It would find some link, which was better than nothing, but it would not like create a tailored like artifact for you to really learn from, and an interactive artifact that you can continue to ask questions and go deeper in the areas that interest you. So that's a real new capability that AI brings, and one of the use cases that I want to talk about today. So first, before going into use cases, it's good to take a step back and look at where does it fit in the context that it evolved in. Right. So at school, we had some math courses. We probably learned some statistics, and we know how that can work to analyze data. And it's one of the branch of what we describe as analytics, right? Analytics is like understanding the data, interpreting the data, and communicating the data in a meaningful way. So that's all elements that was used to create the field of artificial intelligence and machine learning. So the overall goal of artificial intelligence is to create machine and software as intelligent as humans, right? We're not there today. Large language model can look very intelligent in some context, but they cannot do everything that that a human can do, right? So I think there's a perception that a large language model are like fully capable AI and will replace like all of our jobs in the next 5 years. But if you look at it deeper, there's a big gap between what it can actually do versus what the aspiration of the field of AI of creating a machine as intelligent as human want to achieve, right? So that's an area that is evolving, and large language models are getting smarter, but at the same time, are they the final solution to reach that state of artificial intelligence? There's more and more people that say that it's going to take a new type of technology to reach that goal, and that LLM is just one step on the way. Similarly, before we went to large language model, there was cognitive computing and deep learning, like other algorithms and technologies that were invented as we went towards creating those large language model. And that's not the end of the line. I'm pretty sure that there's going to be a new type of technology that's going to be needed in order to reach that like full artificial intelligence future that some people are working towards. Any questions before I go to how LLM work in a little bit more detail? Feel free to unmute as well. I think we can have a discussion.
Yeah, and also you can raise your hands using the Zoom function if you are familiar with that.
So when you're talking to someone, sometimes you can predict what they're going to say before they say it, right? Sometimes it can be your life partner, or it can be someone that presents or talks at work. That's a little bit similar to what large language models do. So based on a context, like here, today it's a beautiful outside, it's a perfect day to go to the. I think in most cases, what we would expect the large language model to say is something like beach or park, right? That's very common completion of this sentence. And the way large language model create the text in their output is by doing this repetitively, right? After they generate the next word beach, then they're gonna try to do it again for the next word, the next word, the next word. And it's by doing that iteration and repetitive process that it creates the text. Now, each word completion has a probability. And you can think of large language model as a good algorithm to predict the next word. There are other ways to complete this sentence, right? It's a beautiful day outside. It's a perfect day to go to the moon. It's probably not the likeliest of those completion, right? If we say approximately, maybe a 0.001% chance that it completes this. However, if you're looking for something that is very highly creative, a lower probability completion looks more like what we call as human as creativity, right? If you only always use the most likely next word, you're going to create something that is very average and like very easy to like that flows with like perfect like top likelihood. So are you really bringing anything new to the table? If you ask the algorithm to choose completion that is a bit unlikelier, the output will be what we would judge as human more creative. And that completion is all depends on what comes before. So the input, in this case, the prompt, it provides the context. If you change that context, then the probability of what comes next is completely different. So for example, if I tweak the sentence here, I live in Canada and it's winter. Today it's beautiful outside. It's a perfect day to go to the, and then you might go like slopes, park, lake with a ski reference. So it's really important to shape the context that will provide you the best possible response depending on what you want to do. You can also ask for completion that is a slightly different angle. In this case, I asked for a list of funny completion. So it's a perfect day to go to the fridge because it's warmer than outside, to go to the south, to go to the emergency maple syrup reserve, etc. So there's a lot of different possibility there. And this is just an illustration of how large language model work. There's a lot more technical complexity that we won't go into, but if you boil it down to the most basics way of how it behaves, it's like a autocomplete technology on steroid, right? It can complete full sentences, but not only that, through the completion, it takes an element of context that you provide and can create a full response based on what you were asking for. One of the elements, we talked about creativity on the previous slide, but large language model can invent. So one interesting activity you can try with ChatGPT, for example, is to ask, like you invent a word and you ask it for a definition, right? This illustrates that large language models don't operate at a conceptual level. They can create sentences, and in this case, like definition, out of thin air, because it just like you're asking it to predict what comes next. So it's going to create a new reality, like invent a new concept based on the input. In this case, the words, whether it's like plasmological or lopsical or mort de rire. And then it finds a way to like analyze this and create a definition. Here at the beginning, it looks like plasma. So it writes something about pertaining to the logic study. Properties of plasma in physics biology are describing something fluid, dynamic, energetically structured in a logical, systematic way, right? It sounds very convincing. You might try it in Scrabble if you want, but yeah, it's completely invented and not grounded in reality. So that's a fun little activity that you can do with these models. Another element important to understand is that large language models are not databases, right? It's not a system that you query and you get an answer that will always be the same. So by definition, because it chooses one of the likely next word, it's gonna write something that makes sense, but it's not the same thing as querying a database. In this example, it's asking like who wrote a certain book that never existed, right? Most likely, large language model will just invent an answer and sound very confident about it. It's gonna invent an author, a publisher, a summary. It might even like give you a link to Amazon to buy it, and the link itself will be invented, and you click on it, and it doesn't like actually work. So that was the behavior of a large language model until recently, when web search tools were added, right? So if you not only ask the large language model to respond, but you give it a tool such as that it can look up an actual database or do a web search, then you can get the best of both worlds, in the sense that the large language model will be able to access that tool, in this case, do a web search, find that this book does not exist, but at the same time find close match. So we're not able to find this book. However, it found Shadows of Tomorrow and Shadows of Tomorrow, like two different like book that sounds very closely to what was requested. And maybe that's what you actually meant at the beginning, right? So it can be useful for a fuzzy match type of searching. But if you, so the lesson here is, yes, it can do a lot, but if you treat it as a source of knowledge in itself, it's pretty limited. It's a lot more powerful when you use it as a reasoning, like language reasoning. And on top of that, you have other external source of knowledge that it can access. Another element is large language models are not calculators, right? They're notably weak in doing calculation. This has been improving by adding some tools to the large language model that is able to do calculation. So for example, if you ask a question, but you ask the large language model to write some code to calculate the response, right? Then the actual math will be calculated by the code and not by the large language model. It's not going to be a prediction of the response to that calculation. It's going to actually calculate it. So that's one way to do it. But there's some classical example, like calculating the number of R's in strawberry, and in the word strawberry, that it's not very good at. Or in this case, my question to the LLM was, how many letters are in this sentence, and create a response with the same number of characters. So it misunderstood what I meant, because it only calculated the number of characters in the first part of the question, right? And then calculated this. And then in the response, it wrote something that was like pretty close, but what I actually was intending for it to do is that the full responses was the same length, which in this case it definitely isn't. So I think following direction sometimes works, and it's improving over time. But there's still areas like for very basic tasks that it doesn't work correctly. And this is just one example. Another thing is large language models are not omniscient. They don't know everything. So I was walking at MBS by the casino. They have that pattern of tiles. And I think I recognized that pattern. So I took a picture. I sent it to ChatGPT with the other example pattern that I just found on Google. And I asked, are they the same, right? And however I was able to ask the question, it could not figure out. It was inventing a lot of things to say that they were not the same. So I think it's important to apply some critical thinking in the answer that is given you. So in some cases, you have to expect that it's going to be completely wrong. But also in some cases, you have to expect that it's going to be convincingly wrong in the sense that it's going to be difficult for you to really see without like a deeper understanding whether the answer is good or not. And one thing to note as well is that when you point out to the model that the answer it's given to you is wrong, it's going to apologize. It's going to try to like bring the conversation in a different direction, but that direction might be like continue to be wrong, right? So that's an area that you need to be careful. Another simple task related to this one, I just asked him, okay, just you cannot like identify the pattern, but can you just extract one of the tile? And that's also an area that didn't work at all and just created some kind of like golden snowflake. So that's something to be aware that even though there is some visual reasoning ability that is included, it seems to be more geared towards creating something like brand new than creating a very simple task like extracting a pattern like this. You probably can ask someone in elementary school to do this, and you're just gonna like cut the pattern out and be able to succeed at it, which is not the case for the large language models. And I think I mentioned this already, but large language models are convincing. And a good activity for you to understand that yourself is to ask the AI to argue on both sides of something. So if you ask, for example, like, does
Mini, I'm going to stop the call.
Sorry.
You know why?
So, sorry, Basanti, if you can mute yourself, please.
1 second.
Thank
Okay,
you. Popri, also, if you can mute yourself. Thank you so much.
So if you ask the AI to argue on a specific thing on both sides, like does smartphone make life better or worse, right? It's going to be very convincing on both sides. And I think one element to really understand is because what I mentioned earlier, that the context will shape the answer. If you have some subtle like clues in your prompt, in your question, that it can detect that you actually think more about one way of thinking than the other, right? If you have some kind of innate bias towards one type of answer, it's going to be able to detect that and provide the answer that you like to hear, right? So a large language model, one of the downside is that they're very good at creating content that you agree with because they detect such clues and continue the conversation in that direction. So large language model, despite all their flaws, can be useful in writing, brainstorming, like creating pictures. That's why I don't like to use the word art. Art is probably like a bigger context than just like creating pictures. It's also very good at explaining something you don't understand, doing translation and computer coding. And helping around these tasks as well. especially for translation. I work a lot with different groups across all of Asia. So having whole threads written in Korean and not being able to understand is one thing, and that's how it used to be. But now with large language model, you can get summary in English, and it allows you to participate and work with those people a lot easier. So maybe we can go in a question in the chat.
Yeah, and also, Charles, there are a few questions that came before the session itself when they were registering. So I'll cover some of that. But yeah, let's take the one that Ayan has. Ayan, since you are here, why don't you ask the question directly to Charles?
Oh, sure. Thanks, Charles, for the nice session. So my question is purely on the approach, right? So since the LLM models are quite advanced, right? So are we still need to use the chain of thought approach, or it's just a mixed bag approach will be much easier? Yeah. So any suggestion on that?
No, that's a very good question, and you're hinting to something very important, which is techniques that you learn for one model or one version of a model don't necessarily apply to later version of the model, right? Chain of thought was one such approach that was asking the model to reflect and think and break down the problem into sub tasks before giving the final answer. So that was a prompting technique that was needed because it was not built in the earlier version of the models. The newer version of models have such capabilities already integrated. So especially like the deep thinking type models, is gonna, if you ask for a longer thought on what you're asking for, is going to do it by itself. So you're right that in these kinds of models, you don't necessarily need to explicitly ask it to do it because it's going to do it anyway. So I think the best practices for use of different model evolves over time, and you should not assume that because you learn a certain way that was working in the past that it's still required or best practices going forward. One element and one learning of the latest version of models like GPT-5 family is that it can process a lot more context. So you can give a lot of inputs for it to reason over. But at the same time, if within that context, there's contradictions, right? You say the sky is blue and later it says that it's very cloudy. These kinds of contradiction makes the model misbehave. So one of the newest best practice is to make sure that there's as little contradiction as possible in that context. So that's one area that is evolving, for example.
All right. Yep. Thanks.
Okay, there's several questions coming. So let's take the next one from Dev Shubro and then probably get on to your thing. So Dev Shubro, please feel free to ask.
All the numbers from
Sure. Thanks, Charles, for this enlightening session. So I believe when you described that the models are convincingly wrong, I believe that thing is called hallucination. And so can hallucination from the large language models be eliminated? And or if not eliminated, then what measures can we take to mitigate this problem?
Yes, no, that's a very important element. And it is called hallucination. So you're completely right about that. Hallucination, like as long as we use the current type of technology of large language model, that at its core is based on just predicting the most likely next word, this is something that will always exist, right? It's the technology is not manipulating concept and then extracting sentences from those concepts. It's really just working at a very smart algorithm to generate the next words. So if you cannot eliminate it with the model, then are you always stuck like having hallucination? So the answer here is it's about risk mitigation, right? So if you just ask the large language model itself to generate the answer, your likelihood of hallucination is higher. If you provide the right input, and you're not asking the large language model to just invent by itself the answer, but it's going to refer to that context and get the information from the context, then you reduce the level of hallucination. Similarly, if you give the tool to the large language model, for example, you're asking a question about a certain policy in the organization, and the AI as a tool to look up that information, then it's able to answer much more accurately. And then from a system design perspective, there's also mitigation that you can put in place. So there's a whole concept of testing the AI. So there's a concept of creating evaluation. So evaluation is like a unit test in software if you're a computer programmer. So it's a way for you to detect whether the answer that was created is grounded in the base truth. And you can use that before you deploy the AI solution, or you can also have content safety added to the deployed solution that detects whether the output was grounded in the reality and can block the response if it detects that it's not grounded. So I have to say this is a much more advanced conversation, but definitely it's something that is important when you deploy AI system in production.
All right, so time check. Also, you.
Oh, I'm not sure if it's only me.
I think Kaushik froze.
Yeah. Okay. So I believe he was about to say let's continue to the next section. So next section is a set of personal use cases, and I identified those use cases just by looking at my ChatGPT history. Right. I just went through all of the previous conversation for back in time for a couple of months, and I created a screenshot just to show you what kind of use cases I use it for. Right. So I'm learning Bahasa Indonesia. I was subscribed to Duolingo until recently. And I have to say that the level of learning I can do with the large language model is much higher than what I was paying Duolingo for the app. So that's an area that if you're learning a language, you can create a project within ChatGPT or any other AI software that you're using. You have conversation directly in that language. You can also ask for every day, teach me a new word, and it's going to teach you a word. And it's also very good at explaining why you're wrong, right? That's an area where Duolingo is just basically learning by heart, unless you pay for the even like more expensive AI subscription. So in this case, I use the AI for it to like teach me new words every day and to practice conversation. And within the conversation practice, I can ask it to respond in like a very formal way. Like usually when you learn a language, you learn the very official formal way, which is quite different than the people that speak it in the street. So you can also ask to practice like a more informal conversation and ways of writing that official apps will never teach you. Another use case that I do often is healthy recipe. Like if you just look at recipe online or on YouTube, what you'll notice is like they're very difficult to follow, and also they're crowded with ads and pop-ups all over the place. So asking the AI to generate the recipe is very clean, very easy to follow. There's no ads and pop-ups, so it's quite interesting. And then it's also very good at identifying a recipe with leftover ingredients, right? Like I have some garlic and XYZ, and I want a recipe for tonight. And I can, whether or not you can go to the store, you can include that information, and it's going to suggest something that goes along with that. So I've been pretty successful on this. I do have to note that I'm not a baker, and baking is a lot more precise in the ratios of different ingredients. So I never attempted to do it through AI like this. So I'd be interested to know if any of you have tried it for baking. But for general cookings, like savory recipe, it's been quite successful. Also, you can ask for health benefits of food, right? So in this case, health benefit of the ejiki salad at Muji. So he was able to look it up, find the information, and identify one warning that I didn't know, that there's a caution about arsenic for ejiki. So if you probably shouldn't eat it more than once a week. And only from places that know how to prepare it well, which I'm hoping that Muji is. But yeah, if you just try it out and cook it in your own kitchen, apparently it can be dangerous with arsenic if you don't do it in the proper way. I would never have known about this if I didn't ask the AI. Also, it's very good at fuzzy searching. So for example, finding a quote that you half remember. In this case, a Peter Drucker quote about about doing efficiently what should not be done at all, right? And then it can find this like quotations. This used to be very, very difficult to do in a just normal Google search because it's pretty like the words can match many different web pages. But with LLMs, this kind of functionality is very, very good, and you get an answer very quickly. Also, how-to instructions. We all know that when we buy some kind of electronic appliance, it comes with a manual, or maybe these days it doesn't even come with a manual. They ask you to look it up online. AI is very good at just giving you the instructions directly. So for example, I have a Zojirushi rice cooker. So I just wanted to know how to reheat the rice, and it was able to give me exactly the full procedure how to do it, right? So I didn't have to look up where was the manual, which page do I need to go. I just ask it and it gives me the answer. So other things is very good at explaining. Yes?
No, Shomo, thanks for joining, but if you can keep yourself mute, please. Yeah, go ahead, Charles.
So another use case, explaining factual concept, right? Like I was watching a YouTube video and they were using the word pediatrics when I think they meant podiatrics. So I just wanted to confirm for myself which one it was, and they were actually wrong. Also, I was reading a book set in 1986 England, and they keep talking about having tea and like confusing it with a London person that was calling it dinner. So just ask the ChatGPT, and apparently tea was used by the local Cornish people back then to mean like the evening meal, right? I would never have suspected that if I didn't ask the question. Also, if you're doing Excel or any other software, AI is very good at explaining how to use those software. So I wanted to learn how to use the let and lambda formula in Excel that I never used before. So it was able to tell me how to do it, give me example, and I was successfully able to use it later on. I'm also getting married in Indonesia. I had to sign a contract with the service provider over there with a wedding planner. So even though I'm not a lawyer and probably would be much better if I had it reviewed by an actual lawyer, it can give you tips and things to identify that I would never have seen myself. So you can attach the PDF to your chat. You can ask a question, and even though it's not a professional review, at least it can give you hints of elements that might be problematic. Right, so that's an area that I also used recently. And then final example, so this is an example with a picture attachment. So wanted to know whether I can dry clean a certain garment, right? So just took a picture of those weird symbols, and it was able to tell me what I could and couldn't do with it. So that's a little example of something very simple that AI can do. So just as a conclusion to this section, if we group those use cases together, AI is very good at information compression. You give it a lot of text data, and it can summarize like in very few points what was written. And Same thing for retrieval is search. It can do semantic search rather than keyword search, as the quotation example showed. And generate and brainstorm is also another category. I use AI often when I create my slides. So this is a slide that I use this brainstorm approach, right? I might have a few examples and ask it, okay, create me groupings and categories that I can structure my slide around, or give me more examples. Like I have example A, B, C, but then AI will be able to give me C, D, E, F, G. Maybe half of them are not very good, but the ones that I didn't think about, I can add in my content. Transformation and edit. So you can transform, write in different language, but also like change the tone of what you're writing. From a Western perspective, I tend to be pretty direct in how I communicate. So you can ask it to soften the tone and create a better experience for communication. Learning and coach, there was a lot of example of this in my use cases. And finally, the new or latest area is automation and orchestration. I'm not using it personally. It's an area that is growing, and we can expect in the future that there's going to be more and more of these type of tasks that AI can do. So any question about this before?
Actually, so Charles, let me cover some of the questions that came before the, as the members and the participants were registering. So there is a one common set of questions that are coming in terms of the privacy, data privacy, and how safe is it to use, and so privacy, safety, etc., and where we are from that point of view. What are some of the things that we should keep in mind?
Yes. So that's a very good question. And that's an area where if you're using B2C type of technology, like so the free edition of ChatGPT, for example, you have to assume that everything you write is captured and is going to be used to train the next version of that AI. That's where the professional edition or the enterprise edition have more control. So you pay for your subscription, but you can also disable that functionality that it records everything that and use it. The main point is that it's going to use it to train the new version. Within ChatGPT, there's also an option that it's not going to save that conversation to the history, right? But it doesn't mean that it's not recorded by OpenAI, right? So it's a little bit like browsing anonymously in your web browser. It's not because you're in the anonymous mode that Synctal or the websites don't know and cannot track you. So I think it's similar, and it's important to have the context. It's also important to choose what you're gonna share, right? If it's a very specific medical condition, or if sensitive financial information, you probably don't want to share with those application that records everything.
Great. Another kind of looking through some of the common threads. So you talked about personal use, but if someone has to, someone who doesn't understand the technicalities, a so-called layman, how do they go about adopting these tools and make the best use of it?
Yeah, I think it's a question of trying it out, right? If you don't try, you're never gonna learn about it. So I think start slow. Don't use it for anything critical, right? Maybe compare, like if you have a current approach of doing something, right? Try it in the new way of doing things, and also the old way, and then you're able to compare and contrast. I would also say try it with a knowledge domain that you master at first, right? Because it's very good at creating convincing answer. It's much more difficult to be critical in the answer if you're not an expert in the domain. So try it on something that you really know about it. That way you can identify where it goes wrong. And then that learning of when it goes wrong, you can apply to other domains afterwards, after you understand the limitation.
Fantastic. Sonali? Sonali, you have your hands raised.
Yes, thank you. So I'm a teacher, and my question is very specific. We see a lot of students, and I teach English. So we see a lot of students using AI very effectively. AI is very good in analyzing texts. However, AI often misquotes. So the quotations that students are using, unless it's something like Shakespeare, where it almost never goes wrong, in terms of short stories or poetry, I see a beautiful analysis ruined by AI slop and misquotes. So is there a way of teaching my students? Firstly, of course, I don't want AI to write their analysis for them, but I'd also understand that it can save a lot of time and help in exam revisions. But is there a way of refining your prompt so that you can tell AI that, if you don't know this, please don't include this in your response, or, can you do your fact checking? Because as an examiner, I'm wasting a lot of time, going through AI hallucination where I can't find that quote in a long text and I'm going back and forth because a student has quoted it. But then I realize that it's not there.
Yeah. So I think how to integrate AI and transform education is a hot conversation area, right? There's some school of thoughts that students should not use AI at all because they need to learn the skills to be able to do it. But at the same time, if the future is really AI, we want them to have those skills.
Absolutely.
I think this is an area where if using AI is allowed for that output, then the way you use AI to generate it should be a step-by-step process rather than asking AI to write the whole thing in one go. So first you can ask it to create a structure, right? What would be the right elements of the analysis? How to structure that analysis can be different from actually writing. Similarly, for the quotation, extracting a quotation can be separated into a task in itself rather than just being generated as it's writing. And I think you'll find that by decomposing a bigger problem into smaller problems, the AI will be more successful. The same way that as human, if you just write a text without being able to use an eraser or correcting it, is extremely challenging. And by breaking the problem in smaller tasks, it's easier for the human, but it's also easier for the AI to accomplish the task.
Okay, thank you so much. And what do you propose we tell our students when they are using AI? Is there a general guideline? For instance, Perplexity gives very good citations. So, or is it just generally they can use anything they want?
I think that's where the teacher should set the rules, right?
Yeah.
So,
but are there any general guidelines which students should follow?
I don't think there's general guidelines. I'll just skip a little bit ahead because this is related to what you're talking about. I think it's important to know whether what we're teaching, is it a perishable skill or is it a durable wisdom, right? Okay. So I think one of the questions earlier was how to prompt a certain way the different model, right? So that's a technology-specific knowledge, whether it's a programming language or a prompt trick. That's something that might be valid today, but as things changes in the future, this is not going to be relevant anymore, right? There's organizational knowledge as very time specific or organization specific, process specific, and tech specific. What we really want our students to have is critical thinking, creativity, leadership, problem solving, like all those higher level capability that can be applied in different contexts. So I think the role of the teacher, but also like where things are going, is being able to shift the skills. Like you're not really teaching Excel in itself, but the whole concept of using data for decision making, for example, or you're not teaching coding, you're teaching system design or prompting your.
So this is not the webinar for what?
Sorry, Arati, if you can mute yourself, please.
Your plug lah. You got your plug.
Yeah, thank you. So yes, by like raising the level of that skill, you're able to create more durability in what the students are learning.
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay, so Sopan, are you still there? Would you want to ask your question?
Yes. Yeah. I just wanted to understand, like, we are evaluating Copilot in our company to look at what are the engineering things can be done. Okay, and trying to evaluate. We are still in the process of learning mode. So I am not sure whether you can just see. Suppose I have got a system 1 and I have upgraded it across various years to system 10, and I want to create a system 11, and I can give certain amount of data and certain amount of variables and certain amount of specs. How AI is it capable of using all the previous systems, learning it by itself, and then come out with a solution, propose a solution? The objective is to reduce the design cycle, okay, by 1/4. Okay, so is this, are there specific AIs available for this, or generic AIs can solve this problem?
So this is more in an engineering context. When you mention Copilot, do you specifically mean GitHub Copilot, for example?
Yes.
Okay. So I think one of the limitation of AI today is the amount of context that you can provide it, right? When you talk about analyzing the current system, if in the context you have all the documentation, all of the code, all of the manual, all of the repos of things that went wrong in the past, it's probably like too much context for the AI to understand all in one shot. So one of the challenge there is just does it scale to the size of
I
your
think
problem?
it makes sense. It's like a dash cam for them. So it's good.
Shantavi, sorry, can you be on mute, please? Shantavi,
Yeah.
can you be on mute, please? Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so does it scale to the size of your system, right? If it's a very big system, probably not. Then it becomes, how can you decompose the bigger problem into smaller area that AI can be useful? And GitHub Copilot, there's different ways to use it. You can use it to understand the current system, so you can have the AI answer based on a certain code base. And you can have it autocomplete some of the code that you're trying to do. You can have it document the current code, right? So create some like higher level artifact that can then be used for the evolution of the system. You can also use AI within GitHub Copilot in a more agentic way, where you assign tasks to the AI and it's able to reason through the repo in order to accomplish this. Now you mentioned that your objective for efficiency is 25%. The studies that we see is between 40% more or less improvement is pretty achievable. So that's an area where 25% I think is realistic. Does it work exactly?
No. When I say 25%,
Can I one thing, Shobhan, sorry. This is getting a bit too technical and very implementation specific. Just in the interest of the general public, feel free to reach out to, and you're doing in Copilot, so I'm sure Microsoft will be there to help you. If it's okay, we'll move on to some other questions that people have. Is that okay?
Okay, no problem.
Thank you, Shobhan. Much appreciated. Shantan, you have a question on the future of AI.
Yeah, so I just a bit of background. I'm an aerospace engineer, and I also research in the same field. And I have been encouraged a lot more by my professors and stuff to actually immerse myself into AI. And that has, of course, led me to wonder about the future of AI and what forms of AI ML do you think show great promise but are still maybe 3 to 5 or even 10 years away?
Yes, awesome. So you're asking me a very difficult question to predict the future, right? So if I was that good, I think my portfolio would be much higher than it is today. But I think if you look at where the technology is going, a lot of the example that I showed was mostly text-driven, right? So you have like text knowledge, and then it outputs other text. So today AI is very good at natural language. And that's an area where it's going to continue to improve. We can expect that the way we interact with software system would evolve to become more oriented towards using natural language than to learning the specific of a given software package. So learning the graphical user interface and like all the places that you need to click to achieve a certain task. So the idea is that AI will be able to empower beginner users to be more efficient or as efficient as someone that knows the software much more deeper. Because you can explain what you want to achieve in natural language, then the AI will translate that into what the software needs in order to do what it's supposed to do. So that's an example of the shifting task focus, right? Instead of focusing on the detailed task to accomplish something, it's going to be a higher level of abstraction. So you can think more about the bigger picture and the detail of how to do it, the AI will do. So, and another way to view it, and this is the way we see it at Microsoft, is AI as teammate, right? We don't have autopilot, we have copilot. So the idea is how do you bring the best of the capability of AI and what the human employee brings to work efficiently together. Another area that is evolving is the modality that the AI works across. So there was some example that there was pictures, right, that I provided the AI and it was able to or unable to understand. I want to show a little video that shows how we see this evolving going forward. It's all things that can be done today. It's working software, but the reason that we don't see more of this kind of user interaction with AI is from a core cost perspective. So as soon as the cost of AI goes down, as the system improves, we should see more and more ways to interact with AI in this fashion.
All right, let me ask the agent here.
Hey, Seth, how's it going? What can I help you with today?
I am fantastic. I'm sorry, I'm in such a hurry. I'm going to go on an overnight camping hike where we're camping all this. It's going to be dark, cold. Should I use these shoes? It's the mountains. It's probably going to be cold.
Great, no worries. Let me take a look. Ah, those are the Trek Star hiking sandals. While they're fantastic for summer hikes and keeping your feet cool, they might not be the best choice for cold
Oh my goodness.
mountain
So, okay, I'm sorry to interrupt you. Pick the best thing that I should use, and can you just add it to my cart? Just one product.
No worries. Let's go with the Trek Ready hiking boots. They're durable, provide great ankle support, and most importantly, they'll keep your feet warm in the cold mountains. I'll add them to your cart now.
Oh,
ready for checkout?
I see that. Amazing. Muchísimas gracias. Espero que me vaya bien en el campamento.
De nada, Seth. Disfruta de tu campamento y mantente caliente con esas botas. Buena suerte y diviértate en las montañas.
So as you see in this video, it was able to recognize the product. It was able to understand that the product was not appropriate for the use case. It was able to suggest a new product that was a better fit. And then it added it to the cart ready for purchase, right? And you see at the end of the multi-language capability. So that's, if we think about how AI user experience will evolve in the future, we should expect that the way that we interact with software will change. Today, a lot of application, you have the normal application and you have a little button in the bottom right, and then you click on it and you have access to an agent that is text to text. right? So this is an example of instead of adding AI on top of the current experience, how do you transform the whole user experience to embed AI at its core? So that's an area that is going to evolve, and we should expect more and more type of such experience in the future.
So we are, again, to do a AI session in just about 1 hour is a very difficult task. So I'm very conscious of the time also. Uh, any last words that you'd like to share with us, Charles, to kind of wrap up the session? Because I think we're already over time now.
Yeah, no, I think thank you for taking the time. As I mentioned earlier, try it out, try different use cases. It's not going to be successful in each one of them, but the ones that work, you can learn a lot. And I think also an important part of learning is sharing, right? So today I shared some of the use cases that work for me. And maybe Kaushik, another idea in a few months is to have more roundtable type of setting where people can share what works for them. So just putting it out there, sharing is part of learning, and hopefully each one of you can try new scenarios in the next few days.
Charles, thank you so much. It was, I know it's not easy to do a session that is, that everyone can get value from, but, you did a wonderful job, and thank you for taking the time to prepare and share. So your suggestion around roundtables is very well taken, and I think that will help, people share their experiences also and kind of create a community of learning. That's something that we'll definitely we'll look into. So with that, I want to thank all of you, participants. I know we were rushed for a bit of time, so we could not. Probably you have more questions, but the recording is there, so please feel free to watch the recording, share with others, and actually the roundtable thing I also liked it very much. So maybe we'll follow it up with a roundtable session with a focus session on specific areas, right? So with that, anybody has any last things to share before we
I
go
would
for our
just
Sunday
add,
lunches?
feel free to connect on LinkedIn, and I'm always happy to go for coffee if you want to discuss further.
That's great. Well then, thank you so much again, everyone, and have a great Sunday. And so we'll close the session now.
Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Charles, thank you again.